Hey guys, what's up? Shadowlands back with another video. Today I am doing a long requested Sony Vegas 12 tutorial for just basic editing stuff. Anyone who wants to do like reviews or just combat arms videos in general, this is the best way to do it. These are all the tricks and tips you should need. Now if you're looking into actually editing videos and making montages, that's a whole different story. I'm going to go ahead and open up some stuff here. I'm going to import some media and get going. So I'm also going to import some music just so I can show you guys as well, because I'm going to be editing some audio along with this whole mess. So let's go ahead and do that first. I'm going to go ahead and pull up some stuff here. So recordings, let's go ahead and grab some gameplay from here. This one looks fine. So first of all, I'm going to go over audio editors actually, because those are the easiest, and that's good for everyone, especially since a lot of people want to do commentaries. So audio editors. You're going to click this thing down here. You're going to drag your audio thing onto the board, and you're going to click on this thing over here. These are all the things you should need, but if you're doing commentary, there's only 3 things you need to look at. You hold Control, and you click Resonance Filters, Smooth and Enchants, and Track Equalizer. Then you click Add and OK. You're going to come up with this thing right here. You can drag it up here like I normally do, or you can do whatever. You can make it look however you really want to make it look. But anyway, the way you want to do it is I already have this preset here, but what you can do is you can drag these numbers around to make it do different things. Now, I typically just go with depth 2. I have it set like this, and by enabling and messing the stuff down here, low shelf, this can allow you to get the curves here, so you can experiment with that as you like. Smooth and enchants, usually just drop it down by 1. The louder that your voice is, the more you want to drop it down. My voice is typically pretty quiet actually. I just boost the volume, so I actually just drop it down by 1. You don't usually want to enchant it because that makes it sound really, really weird. Now, frequency stuff, you don't do a lot here, and this really doesn't change a lot. You do this if you have some static. It's not going to change a lot, but it will make it a little less noticeable if you have a little bit of static. You drop this down between 16 and 17,000. You drop this to down about 80 to 84-ish is usually pretty good. Don't worry about any of this stuff down here. It's not important. So now coming back up here, you put those on and it will make your stuff sound a little more clear. You can experiment with the equalizer. That's the biggest thing that's going to change. Next is maintain aspect ratio. I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and I'm going to put a video track here. So maintain aspect ratios. You notice it's really, really dark up there right now. That's because I don't have some video levels put on that I will work on in a minute. It doesn't normally look like that, as you guys may notice, but anyway, so maintain aspect ratio. You guys are going to see these big black bars on the left and right side of the video preview. What you're going to do is you're going to right click the actual stream, not the audio, that's different. You're going to right click the actual video stream, go to switches, and turn off maintain aspect ratio, and as you can see, it went full screen. I'm going to turn it back off so you guys can see what just happened. It just basically does this. There you go. So that's how that works. Next is moving the screen. Now this is a little more complicated. This is probably the most complicated thing I'm going to teach you guys. You're going to go into your video track and you're going to click on this thing right here, this little square looking thing. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see what's going on here. Just keep an eye on this thing over here. What you're going to do is you're going to zoom out. I'm just going to scroll my wheel out and do that. And I'm going to actually drag this. If you notice on the video preview, it got bigger because I'm zoomed in on that spot. Now, for example, let's say I just want to move the screen across. I'm going to do this right here. And then you see these things down here, these little like diamond looking things? You're going to click the very end of it, or at least however long you want it to. If you want the screen movement to take place over half of the video clip, you're going to click in the middle. If you want it to take place over the entire video, you're going to click over here, or at the very, very end of it usually. And then you're just going to physically drag this wherever you want it to be moved. And now if I come over here and I X this out now, and I click here, you'll notice over time the video seems to be going to the left. Look at where my reticle is if it's easier for you to see that. It's in the center, it's a little further to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left, and it keeps going to the left. So that's how that works. It's kind of interesting, but it's something else that works pretty well. Next is a fade in and out. I'm going to delete this and re-put it back in since you guys want to see the actual thing again. Not going to bother with maintain aspect ratio. To fade in and out your video, you just click this little blue thing up here and drag it in a little bit. And that's probably 4 seconds, I think. Alright, that's too long. That's too short. There you go. The video will fade in just like that. And you can see that. Just fades in like that. And fading out works the exact same way. You're going to come to the end here and you're going to do this. And if you're wondering how I'm zooming in and out on the video clips like this, you click where you want to zoom in or out on, and then you just scroll your wheel in and out. I probably should have explained that earlier, but that's that. Audio volume is a little bit more difficult. At least depending, there's a couple ways to do it. First of all, there's this volume tab over here. Now what this will do is every single audio track you put on this slider, it will increase the volume of. Now you may not want to do that. Sometimes you want to have one audio track, but you want to have a bunch of different volume levels. So there's a couple of ways to do that. First, you can click up here and you can fade it like this. You can do this here. And just like video tracks, you could fade it the same way, like that. See how I'm fading it here? That will cause the music or the audio to fade out. You can change the volume by doing this right here. Or you can come down here if you want a very minor, very precise volume change. You click on the whole thing I did earlier. You're going to click on this thing down here. You're going to click on volume this time instead of the other ones. Click add and OK again like we did last time. And you can lower it or you can make it higher. Now, infinite means that it's going to have no audio. It's going to be completely quiet. Don't know why you would ever do that, but you can. It can go much lower than it can go higher, so just keep that in mind. The highest that you will ever be able to get is 6.021. I don't know why that is, but that's just the thing that this program has decided to do. I don't know why that is. But next up is project properties. Now this is where a lot of new things are going to come in, and anyone who's used Vegas before may or may not know about this. So this is the way to get the best quality. This is the way to get the best quality anything. You're going to click on this thing up here that I clicked on where my mouse is now. And then you're going to look at this little tab that comes up. You want your template to be custom. And the way you're going to set that is you want your width and your height to be this. This is above 1080p. Now, anything else that you render in is going to automatically scale it down. So YouTube will scale it down automatically for you. You don't have to worry about that. But this way, it can play on even the largest computer screens and largest monitors without causing a problem. Your pixel aspect ratio should be this 1:1:1:1:1 thing, NTSC DV widescreen. That's the one that gives you the widest screen size, and it works very well. Your frame rate, this is how many frames per second your final video is going to have. I leave it at 80 because I record at 80. However, you will usually want to set it to whatever you record at, especially if you're looking into making montages. You want this frame rate to be as high as possible. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit later. I'll come back to it. Your pixel format, this will determine how long it takes to render, but also how the final quality looks when it gets uploaded to YouTube or when it gets uploaded to somewhere else. It's how much is going to be preserved. Usually, I leave it on full range. Video levels makes it a more deep and depth color, and that's actually the highest right there. Full range is actually the second highest. 8-bit is the lowest. By default, it should be on 8-bit. If your computer is powerful enough, definitely put it on full range. Don't touch any of this stuff. Just leave it. It's not important. If you have any kind of blur, though, you're going to have to leave this thing Gaussian. You're not going to want to change that. That's going to depend on what you're doing. And usually, the first time you do this, click on Start All New Projects with these settings and just check that box. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. I don't want to mess anything up. And you can save this as your custom. Once you have everything set up here, it should look exactly the same as mine, with the exception of pre-rendered files folder. That can be wherever you want it to go. You're just going to save template, and then you can always just come right back to it in that massive list right there. Now, granted, finding it's going to be something else, but that's the way I would do it. All this other stuff up here, I would never really need to worry about. You can title and stuff, and you can, if you do this, you can tie actual stuff to the video, and that way people can't claim your work. It will automatically save it to the file, which is really kind of cool. And then there's a bunch of other stuff you can mess with here. I never really messed with it. Not important. So, moving on, smart resample on and off. This is for editors, especially if you're looking into doing video, like montages and stuff. This is where this becomes very, very important. Disabling resample. What resample does is every single time you use it, it will fill in frames that are not there to make it so that your video project properties, remember I said earlier 80 frames per second, let's say your video is only 60 frames per second. That's what you recorded at. It will automatically fill in frames in between, and it can blur up your video, which is not good. And it does that for a lot of frames, which is a really big pain in the butt for editors because it doesn't look very good. So what you're going to do if you're editing, I actually leave Smart Resample on. Smart Resample, you're going to come into switches again. I leave it on because I don't do that kind of video editing, and it looks better for commentaries. But if you're looking for other kinds of resample, Smart Resample will do it on its own. Force Resample will allow you to do some stuff on your own and edit some stuff manually. I've never bothered with that. But if you're doing editing for montages and mini-tages, edits, all that stuff, make sure you disable Resample or you will screw up your video. It's kind of like when you have a file that's really high definition, an image, you put it into Paint and then you save it as a JPEG and it ruins the quality. That's kind of the same thing that's going on here. Next is project video effects. Now this is something if you want to apply a, actually I'm going to go ahead and do this just to show you guys. So normally to work with video levels, what you would do is you would click on this, and here's what I'm going to show you, the darkness thing. You come to Sony Levels, click on Add, okay? And then this gamma down here, I'm going to set it to 2.2, and the screen suddenly got a lot brighter. Now notice this one is still dark though. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set this back down to 1.0. They're both dark again. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to come up here and set every single one. What I did was I clicked on this little thing right here, guys, Video Output Effects. This will affect every single clip a video in your entire project. So be very careful when you're doing this. I normally actually do use this for Sony levels because Sony Vegas 12 has a problem where if you put in a video, it will render darker than you actually see it in the preview. So what you see on the preview there, it would actually come out as almost pitch black and no one would be able to see anything. So I very, very often use this method. I'm going to come to Sony levels, click add, OK. And I'm going to come and I'm going to go 2.2. Now notice the entire video got brighter, but so did this clip. It affected every single clip. And that's pretty cool in my opinion. So I'm going to do that, and if you want to disable it, you can just click the checkbox up here. So like even if I had something set, and I go 2.2, and it gets bright like this, if I come up here and I uncheck this box, it will go back. So that's just another thing. And you can mess with some other stuff here. It looks pretty cool, but that's up to you. I usually just use gamma because it's not important. If you want to remove it, just say remove selected plugin, the one that you have here. If you had more plugins, they'd be grayed out, but this blue one is the one that's selected. You can just remove it like that, and it will remove it from everything once again. So that's that. Next up is saving a screenshot. Sometimes you want to hold a frame for a very long time, especially when you're editing. Best way to do that is to cut your video. What you're going to do is click where you want to cut it, click S. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this now just for simplicity's sake. And you're going to click right there, and you're going to say save screenshot right here. I'm just going to save it to my desktop right here, and it will automatically drag it into here. So now if I do this, and I put this in here, and I do this, and I'm going to disable audio. I'm going to, so you guys don't have to hear that. It's going to come, actually, let's go and do this. And it will stop and it will hold the frame for a second. Now you'll notice it got slightly darker. That's because the video effects don't affect images as well. So you need to, buff that up a little bit more. It will get darker, and I believe that's even true of Sony Vegas 11 Pro. So even if you're using that, I have never used 10, but Sony Vegas 11 Pro does do the same thing, so be very careful when doing that. That's what you do if you want to hold a frame. A couple last things. If you have a GPU, they're becoming more common these days. I didn't put this in my last tutorial because I wasn't thinking about it. But you always want to disable GPU processing. Now, how you do that? You're going to go to properties again. This is the same thing as we did up here. And oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Where did my custom one go? Screw it. Let's just do this. Let's go back to properties and there we go. Okay, so disabling GPU processing. It's something that you have to do only if you actually have a graphics card. The computer I'm on right now, I don't think has one. I'm not using one, but there would be an option here where you can disable GPU processing, and it's a checkbox like this. So if you need to do that, definitely do that, because what it will do is if you start a video rendering, it will the screen will go black and it will say can't render video. And if you have a GPU already in there, it by default is turned on, so you need to turn that off, and that's a pain in the butt. I don't have a GPU in this computer, so it's not going to show up there, but it will show up there as an option if you have a GPU in your computer. Next up is, and actually finally, is improving brightness the smart way. Now there's the levels thing I showed you about. Gamma is one thing, 2.0, and you can brighten it like that. But then if you also mess with this, you can mess with individual levels of brightness, which is really cool. You can do it smart this way, so like if you really need to, if you have like a darker room, it might be easier to do this. If you have a brighter room, it might be easier to turn it down a little bit and make the color range a little bit more full, which is nice. That's really the last thing I wanted to show you guys. Thank you for watching this insanely long tutorial, and I hope some of you guys learned something new, and I hope to even see some new YouTubers out there because of this, now that you know how to edit videos. If you're looking for a copy of Sony Vegas, plenty of ways to crack it online. I'm not going to teach you guys that. It's illegal, but I actually paid for my copy, so I mean, whatever, it's up to you guys. But if you get a hold of Sony Vegas, this is the way to use it, and Sony Vegas 11 is not much different from 12, except for the GPU processing is a little bit different on Sony Vegas 11. This is Sony Vegas 12, but thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance out.